Hey, what's going on, everyone? Astrologer Eric Rosen here to deliver your daily horoscope for Wednesday, October 21st of 2020. The good old mundane horoscope, the day-to-day grind, the day-to-day life. We're at the very end of Libra season, right? It's peaking out. Anytime you get the sun at the end of, any zodiac sign of any season, there's always going to be, kind of a peak out of intensity of whatever it is that we've been looking at and really illuminating in our lives, for this past month, this past 30 or so days, 28 days. And so 30 days. And so it is looking very much at though like Libra, it's not really so much about intensity. It's more like the intensity comes, if you're kind of out of harmony and out of balance. And so I would say that where can you kind of be blissed out and just feeling good by doing the things in your work life that matter to you, but simultaneously counterbalancing it out with partnerships and communication and not doing too much of one or the other. This sun is coming off of these aspects to Saturn. And so it can still maybe kind of like rope you a little bit into I got to put in the work, I've got to push hard, I've got to do things, but there is something to say about taking breaks and still feeling good as we're peaking out here. And so yeah, there might be some momentum going, climbing the mountain of Capricorn and staying disciplined with yourself. And I would say with Venus making these nice trines, it is this adjustment period of what changes do I need to make in order to feel better, more comfortable, to not criticize ourselves, but critique ourselves on what is it that we can do, but still remembering the lesson that we got from Neptune when they were opposing each other about bringing the love, bringing the compassion. Um, with this T square, meaning that, the nodes, of course, always oppose each other, and then both nodes are squaring over to Venus. This is about, having open minded thoughts. It's being very neutral with the critiquing process and not being so rigid and comparing it to an old belief system, because it's like, yeah, if you're comparing it to that, then of course you're going to feel very critical of yourself, because the South Node in Sagittarius is the big reveal of, well, maybe things will get better later, tomorrow, at the end of this month, when COVID's over, whatever it is. But of course, you're not going to feel successful in whatever your value systems are, too, especially with that Uranus and Taurus. It's like if you've re identified your value system, then you're probably getting a little bit closer to the openness and curiosity, because you've realized that belief systems and personal values are going to have to change in this unprecedented time that we're in. That's just the raw truth understanding of a Mercury retrograde in Scorpio coming off that opposition to Uranus. It's like, yeah, we're all looking at things that, we can change and do differently to kind of really just like create things that we want. It might feel like a little bit of a things aren't moving as fast as we want, a little bit of a stall out with that sun in Libra, because there is a lot of energy that does like it does want to grind and push forward, but it's in a weird, we're kind of in a weird sense of like, I think, timelessness with how things are flowing. And it's teaching us to trust, just trust that things are going to show up when they show up. And it's like, whatever it is showing up in your reality, go with that and be curious and play with that. Now, it can kind of like pull us out a little bit of, I guess you could say, the game of doing the deep work and continuing on our path. But that's just, I think that's part of the breaks that you can take with Libra to balance out. I would call it not so much breaks that are sabotaging to the process, especially with, Neptune in Pisces, of your grander goals, but it's more of like the break to, okay, let me get back to my breath, let me get back to neutrality in my thoughts. Maybe I started pressing too hard and stressing and end gaming and trying to worry about time and the pressure of getting to the place that I want to go. It's like North Node in Gemini is always going to be teaching us about just that spring in our step energy of, I wonder what's going to change in my world, in my life, in my reality, and in my environment. It's actually really cool if we can just accept that the name of the game right now is really just really paying attention to our mental state and our mental thoughts. And we'll be really glad that we did, especially as we head into these eclipses that are coming later this fall at the end of November, I believe November 30th, and then around middle of December. And this is all before Saturn and Jupiter meet in Aquarius. And so, like, we're starting to kind of go up the launch pad a little bit. It kind of reminds me of going up a ramp, that's going to, you know, eventually as you get to the top of the ramp, it's kind of like throwing on the afterburners and just the turbo, like jetpack energy of holy crap, like things are moving really fast. But it's like, yeah, it's like you think things are moving fast, then it's like they're kind of moving fast now in a way, but it's not in the physical reality sense. It's more like things are moving fast in our mental state and understanding, and the things that we're trying to shift and change and do differently in our life. And so it's all about paying really close and I would say deep attention to those things, but not getting too hung up on more facts. It's more about the gut feel of what can I change, what can I do differently to kind of just keep going forward. And it sounds cliche, but there is a little bit of enjoying the process. Venus and Virgo is more about, okay, the work life is a little bit of a grind, but how can I remain open to this? And it's going to take, you know, maybe sometimes taking a moment to ourselves, to collect ourselves, to, if we do get upset or frustrated with this Mars energy, to just really look at what is it that's rocking my boat. It's like, is it actually someone that I need to have a conversation with, or is it more just about my own internal alignment issues that have to be addressed, that are healing very deeply? And um, sorry energy comes up a little bit. Sorry is in like being okay with, I think, apologizing, believe it or not. I kind of gave an advocate for straying away from apologizing because that signifies that forgiveness is needed or that people do wrong things. But I think it is just more of the understanding that tempers and can flare, tensions can heighten and get strained. And so it is being okay with just letting people know, like, hey, I know you're going through stuff. I'm going through stuff. And it's not about, whose scabs or scars are worse than someone else's. This is why, it's good to be around your homies that get it, that get this work, that they know how to hold space for one another and say, yeah, man, I get it. Or, yeah, girl, I get it, whatever it is. So I think it's pretty much it for today, guys. Yeah, nothing else is really leaping out to me. It's just kind of like keep swimming comes up. Um, we do got, especially with, I think that comes up too because in some ways we're like swimming out of the past and kind of getting over any subconscious losses that I think that we're feeling, especially as our ego is feeling a little bit bruised and beaten. And then our minds are in a very watery place, taking a deep look within. And so it's like keep swimming, but it's like take efficient strokes. It's the type that's like Michael Phelps or someone would do, with just like stroking it, like stroking it all the way back. That was a terrible innuendo. And so, yeah, it's just, you know, I think what it's really speaking to is that we only have so much energy. Like this is late stages of Capricorn energy, of our own sense of where we invested in our lives and on our journey. And we only have so many fucks to give. We only have so much energy. And so don't, create friction in the water for yourself by taking inefficient moves and maybe things that kind of set you back. And it's like, yeah, if you do something, it's like obviously practice compassion because that's going to just make you start to sink even faster, to the doldrums of your own emotions. If you're beating and berating yourself up about what could be going better or whatever it is, or it could even be a little bit of, well, if this would change and this would change and this would change, it can get some of that Venus Virgo nitpicky energy. But it's just really speaking to, accepting the serenity of the things that you can change, that you can control, and making those choices, and knowing that we're being shown more than we've ever have, just like up in our faces, like how we don't really have control completely like we thought we did. However, simultaneously, it's like we are getting, a sense of influence of creating the vision of control of where we want to take our lives, especially in future endeavors, as that Saturn and Jupiter are building up into the end of the year. But that access is like restricted for people higher on the mountain that have been doing the work and have that security clearance to go there. Otherwise, yeah, it could seem, I mean, at this point, it's kind of like we're kind of all swimming with who is doing the work, and then everyone else is just like kind of, might sound like an asshole, but they're just kind of like a bystander, like an extra in a movie. It's like, who's in your movie? Who's in the greatest show that you've ever prepared? And so it's, I talked about this for this new moon in Libra. It's like making cuts for, who do you want in your life? And I try to send out that warning flare. Maybe some people got to wait until Mercury meets up with the sun to make any changes. And this includes, I would say, the reflection of how you see yourself and other people too. Like um, it brings up like the recognition of just like what you see in people. It's just projection. It's like if you're seeing the positivity and rooting for people, then you're feeling secure and good in yourself, and the relationship with yourself is good. But if you're projecting negativity and like oddly rooting against people, that it's like, yeah, you're not very secure and accepting of who you are. And so that's a big thing to look at with all the healing that we're going through in Aries. So I love you all. I hope you enjoyed this horoscope, and I will see you on Thursday. Take care.